On December 1st, 2018, CCTV footage captured 22-year-old Grace Millane leaving a bar alongside her Tinder date, Jesse Kempson. The two had only met earlier that evening, but things appeared to be going well. Not long after, cameras showed them making their way to a nearby hotel before heading up to Jesse's room together. To anyone watching, it looked like an ordinary night between two people enjoying each other's company. No one could have imagined it would be the final time Grace was ever seen alive. The following day was Grace's birthday, yet her friends and family couldn't get in contact with her. Hours turned into days, and the silence became deeply alarming. It was as if she had suddenly vanished without a trace. Concern quickly turned into panic, and she was officially reported missing. While the search for Grace intensified, Jesse was seen on CCTV moving in and out of the hotel elevator, carrying cleaning supplies and a large suitcase. What investigators would later discover about that suitcase would leave the public horrified. At 5:37 p.m. on December 1st, 2018, Grace Millane stepped out of her hostel to meet Jesse Kempson for the very first time. They arranged to meet in a busy public area, filled with people, the kind of place that naturally made Grace feel comfortable and secure while meeting a stranger from Tinder. But that sense of safety was misleading. Jesse had no intention of causing a scene in public. Whatever he was planning, he intended to wait until they were alone. Completely unaware of the danger she was in, Grace spent the evening bar hopping with him. The pair shared drinks at one location for about an hour before moving on to a Mexican restaurant for more cocktails, eventually ending up at another venue known as the Bluestone Room. It was there that Jesse began testing the waters, trying to grow more intimate with Grace. At 8:54 p.m., the two shared their first kiss. Shortly afterward, Jesse excused himself to the bathroom. During that brief moment alone, Grace sent what would become the final message she ever sent to anyone. She told her friends the date was going incredibly well, and that she felt an instant connection with him. In her mind, she was likely excited about spending more time with someone she genuinely liked. What Grace didn't know was that the man sitting across from her was about to take her life in a way that would later horrify the world. The following morning was supposed to be Grace Millane's 22nd birthday. Friends and loved ones began flooding her phone with birthday messages, but as the hours passed, every single one remained unanswered. The first indication that something may have been terribly wrong came around 8 a.m. when Jesse Kempson was seen entering the hotel elevator alone. As the doors closed, he briefly glanced toward the CCTV camera in a way investigators would later find unsettling. At first glance, it could have looked like an ordinary morning after a date. But behind closed doors, something horrific had already happened. Grace had been killed during the night, and Jesse was now focused on hiding what he had done. Disturbingly, while attempting to cover his tracks, he was also communicating with another woman he planned to meet later that same day. At approximately 8:07 a.m., Jesse headed into the city and began a series of purchases that would later become central to the investigation. His first stop was a store on Elliott Street, where he bought a large suitcase. CCTV footage showed him examining its size carefully, seemingly making sure it was large enough for his intended purpose. Roughly half an hour later, he visited another shop and purchased several cleaning supplies, items investigators believed were later used to erase evidence from the hotel room. Afterward, he returned to the apartment for several hours before reappearing at around 10:42 a.m. He then took a taxi to Apex Car Rentals, where he hired a vehicle. What he chose to do after renting that car would soon leave investigators racing against time to uncover the truth behind Grace's disappearance. While Grace's body remained inside the apartment, Jesse Kempson carried on with his day as though nothing had happened. Later that evening, he met up with another woman he had connected with on Tinder. When he arrived for the date, CCTV footage showed he was still wearing the exact same clothes from the previous night, the same outfit he had reportedly been wearing during Grace's final hours. Although it's unclear whether his earlier messages to this woman were as intense or manipulative as the ones exchanged with Grace, what happened during the date immediately alarmed her. As their conversation unfolded, Jesse allegedly began discussing disturbing topics, including how someone might hide a dead body from police. What may have sounded like a bizarre joke at first quickly became deeply unsettling. The woman wasted no time ending the date and leaving. Trusting her instincts may have been the decision that protected her from something far worse. It's chilling to imagine what must have gone through her mind once the truth about Jesse emerged publicly. Looking back, she likely realized just how close she may have come to becoming trapped in the exact same nightmare Grace never escaped from. At 8:56 p.m., CCTV shows Jesse returning to his apartment, carrying a carpet cleaner and bottles of cleaning liquid. Investigators later believed he was trying to clean the apartment and remove any signs that Grace had been there. About 30 minutes later, he was seen again carrying several bags, including the large suitcase he had bought earlier that day. The suitcase looked very heavy because Grace's body was inside. Since walking around the city with that much luggage would attract attention, Jesse used the rental car he had hired earlier. CCTV captured him loading the bags into the car before driving away to hide the body somewhere he believed nobody would find it. The next morning, around 7 a.m., Jesse bought a shovel and returned to his apartment. He also took some clothes to a dry cleaner, which police later believed was another attempt to remove evidence. At one point, he threw a large trash bag into a public garbage bin. Later, he had the rental car professionally cleaned, especially the back area where the suitcase had been placed. After all this, Jesse likely believed he had covered his tracks completely. Meanwhile, Grace's family and friends were becoming extremely worried. Nobody had heard from her for days. She wasn't replying to calls or messages, and she had stopped posting on social media. On December 5th, her family officially reported her missing to Auckland police. Police began investigating her last known movements. By checking CCTV footage from different locations, they discovered Grace had been on a date with an unknown man on the night she disappeared. After reviewing hours of surveillance video, detectives identified that man as Jesse Kempson and traced him back to the City Life Hotel. At around 3 p.m. on December 5th, police arrived at the hotel. Jesse noticed them while standing in the lobby and appeared to calmly walk toward the exit, possibly hoping to avoid suspicion. But officers were already focused on him and quickly stopped him before he could leave. During questioning, Jesse did not confess. Instead, he tried to explain the night in a way that made him seem innocent. What he didn't realize was that detectives had already collected a huge amount of evidence, including CCTV footage showing many of his movements before and after Grace disappeared.
Tell us about Grace.
So I was talking to Grace on Tinder.
Yeah.
We'd matched on Friday. I saw that we'd matched the next day on Saturday. And then we met at Sky City. And then we decided that we were going up to Andy's Burger Bar, which is on the first floor.
Whose idea was it to go to that particular burger place?
Me. Because I didn't initially know that she was real.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of... So have you heard of catfish?
No.
So catfishing is where someone uses your profile or uses your photos and pretends to be you and then meets and you're a completely different person.
Right.
And it's on Tinder, it's all about the way you look. And so if they use more endearing photos, you're more likely to swipe for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does meeting in a public place sort of protect you from meeting someone who's not as good looking as...
Well, there's security there. So if she wasn't who she said she was, at least... in my mind, I'd feel safe.
When detectives confronted Jesse with surveillance footage that contradicted his story, he continued to deny any wrongdoing. But with every new lie, he only made himself look more suspicious and pushed himself deeper into trouble.
No. I go down Victoria Street, straight down to the bottom, and then hang a left, and I head towards the viaduct.
You go to the viaduct a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've kind of walked in a bit of a funny direction if you were planning to go to the viaduct.
Well, it's the direction I normally go.
Yeah. It's I mean, I'm just sort of saying, like, if you were planning to go to the viaduct.
I normally go down Queen Street and then cross at the bottom of Queen Street, go through the containers, and then walk along the wharf.
Yeah. Is there a particular reason you would kind of do that?
I feel safer down that way.
Investigators quickly noticed that his explanations didn't add up. His behavior seemed nervous. His answers were inconsistent, and the timeline he gave police was filled with gaps. Detectives began pressing him harder during questioning, and the more pressure they applied, the more Jesse appeared to panic.
I actually don't know if she's been murdered or not yet. She may be alive and well.
Okay.
But she might also be dead. Okay? And it could be that you've done it.
Hey, I just want to ask a question. Have I been arrested for something I didn't do?
You haven't been arrested, mate.
At that stage, he had not yet been formally charged, but Auckland police were already convinced he was closely connected to Grace Millane's disappearance, if not directly responsible for it. As the investigation continued, the evidence against him kept growing. It wasn't only the CCTV footage that pointed toward Jesse. Detectives also discovered that the suitcase, cleaning supplies, and even the extra night booked at the City Life Hotel had all been purchased using Grace's credit card after she was already dead. Investigators even believed he may have used her card while out on the second Tinder date. Jesse may have thought the extra hotel stay would give him enough time to clean the apartment and destroy evidence, but investigators soon uncovered traces of Grace's blood inside the room. Combined with witness statements, phone location data placing the two together, financial records, and the extensive surveillance footage tracking Jesse's movements, police had built an overwhelming case against him. By the time detectives interviewed him again on December 7th, the evidence had effectively cornered him. Realizing there was little left to deny, Jesse finally confessed, but the explanation he would later give in court would become one of the most controversial and disturbing defenses seen in murder trials.
Started talking to me about 50 Shades of Grey, which is a sex fantasy movie that's out. We started having sex. At first it was just normal. It was very placid. And then she asked me if we could get into bondage. And then all I remember is falling asleep in the shower. I need to stop. I need to go.
Would you like some fresh air?
Yeah, please. I was in shock and I didn't know what to do. I went downstairs and I was just, I don't know, I was all over the place. I didn't believe what had happened. I was just terrified and scared. I thought that she had gone. I thought she had left.
Pathologist, specialist doctor, will perform a post-mortem.
Yeah.
They're very skilled at establishing people's causes of death. Do you understand that?
I went to the warehouse at the atrium and bought a suitcase. I went back and I was just in shock because it just didn't seem right. I left to go and get cleaning products. So I messaged a friend and said I'll meet you at Revelry. After finishing drinks with her, I got back to City Life. And the whole time I just kept saying I'm sorry. And then I went downstairs and I grabbed the porter thing and I put the suitcase on top of the porter thing. I drove the hire car into Wilson's car park and parked it. I woke up the next day at about 5 a.m. and drove the car out to Cumu at first. I had picked up a shovel from ITM at Cumu. I ended up driving towards the Waitakaris. I went into the bush, I dug a hole, I went and got the suitcase and I covered the hole and then I drove.
Where is her possessions?
I threw them in the rubbish.
Whereabouts?
Albert Park rubbish.
Right. So what items of her property have been disposed of in Albert Park?
Everything.
All of her clothing?
Everything that was in the room.
Whereabouts did you clean the car? The outside of the car?
I think it was in Henderson. I don't know West very well.
Okay. And what did you use to clean the car?
A water blaster thing from a car cleaning place.
Did she have any injuries?
Not that I can remember. I was just panicking.
Did you inflict any injuries on her that caused her to die?
No.
Did you kill Grace Millane? Okay. And you're under arrest for the murder of Grace Millane on or about the 2nd of December.
Okay.
You understand?
Yep.
Did you intend to cause her death?
No.
Are you ready to take us to where she is?
During the trial, the media nicknamed Jesse Kempson's argument the 50 Shades of Grey defense. He claimed Grace's death happened during consensual sexual activity that involved risk, arguing that her death was accidental rather than intentional. Critics, however, viewed the argument as an attempt to reduce responsibility for what happened. And while the defense focused on the moments leading up to Grace's death, investigators were far more disturbed by everything Jesse did afterward. As police dug deeper into the case, they uncovered a long trail of evidence. Investigators found internet searches made by Jesse between December 1st and December 7th related to hiding a body. They also discovered disturbing photographs he had taken of Grace after her death, including images taken before and after her body was placed inside the suitcase. On December 9th, 2018, Grace Millane's body was discovered in a remote area outside Auckland. A post-mortem examination concluded that she had died from strangulation. Investigators also found bruising on her arms and chest that suggested she had been forcibly restrained. Under New Zealand law, murder charges are not divided into first-degree or second-degree categories. Instead, the key issue for the court was whether Jesse was responsible for killing Grace. Prosecutors argued the evidence clearly showed that he was. Although Jesse continued to maintain that Grace's death was accidental, the jury ultimately rejected his explanation. He was found guilty of murder and on February 21st, 2020, was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum non-parole period of 17 years. After the trial ended, 2 additional women came forward, accusing Jesse of sexually assaulting them after meeting him through Tinder. He was later convicted on those charges as well, adding even more years to his sentence.